Deidire ya mwere ya kenyori ya mwiruwe penina gai yake mweza mweri oya ne matoma maodo manene mekeke ona maria moneka gai matake otekeka.
Hey, hujambo, how are you today? Today is a new month, the 4th of September for me, because I haven't been with you since last month. So happy new month. September is a wonderful month, and we are looking to autumn where I am. So the weather is a bit cooler. You can see I'm more dressed in a warmer outfit, but I'm just getting prepared if the weather goes down. But I'm happy. It's a wonderful new day. Yeah, you're welcome to Kenya Diaspora Media, the pillar for the community. And my time where I am is about 6:30 p.m. and in the UK. And I'm hoping for the Kenyans, it's about 8:30. And for those who are in the central time in the US, it's 12:30. So welcome. If I say evening, just know that I'm kind of referring to where I am, but I know it's the day. So what I want to say is welcome. Tune in and let me know where you're tuning from. And this is Kenya Diaspora Media, Spices of Life. Esther is your host, Esther from Leicester, and today we are doing the rediscovering of our emotions. And before I do that, let me just say Jambo, Jambo. Jambo is hi, Jambo from Leicester, and Jambo, all the continents of the world, Jambo Australia, Jambo Europe, Jambo South and North America, Jambo Antarctica, Jambo East Asia, Jambo, wherever you are tuned in from. So karibu sana, and just welcome other visitors. Keep on tagging and welcoming them so that we can rediscover our emotion, discover and rediscover our emotions tonight. So far, so good. It's a wonderful weekend. I've been chilling. I don't know what you've been up to. So please feel free to tell us what you've been up to today. Yeah, I've been just chilling, chillaxing. You know, when I first came across that word of chilling, I used to wonder, what does that mean? Chilling. Am I in the fridge? Am I in the freezer? No. It's just that. It's another word for I have a cool heart. It's just cool. So remember, we've been kind of discussing about spices of life. We have done almost 7 episodes. So revisit our YouTube, revisit our Facebook, look for us, Kenya Diaspora Media, Spices of Life, and other programs. We have plenty of other beautiful programs. So you're welcome to join in and read and study and follow up. I think the topics are now flowing more smoother day by day. So how was your weekend? And where are you tuning from? As we do that, let me just welcome those who are joining in, the Kenya Diaspora Media. You can listen to us on Facebook Live. You can also listen to us on the app. If you have not downloaded that app, please download the app. There's beautiful music and there are beautiful programs there, so please download the app. You can also listen to us on YouTube Live. You can also, during the week, join us on the radio. So you're very welcome. We have also other live programs on Facebook and YouTube during the week. So meanwhile, let me just welcome a few people who are joining in as we get started. So Grace Ngatia, hello Esther and team KDM. Karibu sana Grace Ngatia. Rachel Ray, karibu sana, and thank you so much for tagging thousands of names. So well done, and thank you so much. Karibu sana. Rose Richardson, karibu sana. You're welcome, and you're tuning in from Skegness in the UK. So welcome. James Ndungu, you're tuned in. So thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much, Samuel Arori, as well for joining in. And then on the other side, I'll be looking out for who is joining us on YouTube Live very soon so that we can be in tune. Now we can be dancing the same tune as we join in Kenya Diaspora Media. So karibu sana kila mtu, karibu sana everyone. Kila mtu is everyone. And KDM, hakuna matata. There is no problem in KDM. We just bring you the latest news, information, education, healthy eating, all sorts of topics. You will find them here. And also not to forget that you will also find a lot of hope. Yeah, just building your hope day by day. You will find these programs very engaging and very welcoming. If you haven't learned a bit of Kikuyu, maybe you will learn a little bit of Kikuyu. We will be also presenting in Swahili. The program that was just before was a mix of Kikuyu and Swahili and English. So you're welcome to learn a little bit of our language as we learn a little bit of other languages as well. So just to give you a little overview of what we've been doing, I always start with the self, and it's the way I perceive the self, the way you perceive yourself. So you start with the self concept, who you are and whose you are. And after that, now you look out for the purpose. And these purposes are divided in different categories of the spiritual, physical, intellectual, and commercial. Now we are on the emotional and all that, and next time we'll be doing the social. So we are still at the rediscovering stages. So if you want to kind of catch up with what we've been doing previously, please revisit our programs and be able to kind of find out what was Esther or what has Esther been talking about. And when I do these things, one of the things I normally do is I'm trying to marry the self-concept with the purpose and then maximize who we become. Most of the time we start with the real self, and we also have an ideal self that we are aspiring to. Most of us, if you ask us, we will tell you there is something I'm looking forward to becoming, and that is the ideal self. And when you talk to people, sometimes they will tell you, this is who I am, but in actual sense, they're dreaming of that ideal self. If you keep on digging a little bit like the way we'll be doing today, rediscovering our emotions, you will find maybe that particular thing or person they want to become is a dream on the other side. On this other side, I can see Maladasha is joining in or has joined in. I can also see Simon Washira, kabisa kabisa, karibu sana. Bani Akwalo, ukweli kabisa, here we go. Nancy Rory, karibu sana. Joan Karuri, karibu sana. And you're saying hello, Esther. And let's see who else has joined us on this other side as well. Karibu, as you keep on joining in. Yeah, I feel wonderful when I know some people are here and listening in. Richard Ngatia, karibu sana. Mary B, yes, umefika fika. You have arrived, karibu sana. And Virginia Morimi, you're saying welcome everyone. Sharing is key. Sharing is caring. So keep on sharing so that we can be able to kind of learn together and grow together. This is not my program, it's our program. We are the pillar of the community. One thing that you learn here, you can take it to another person. You never know. It may help them to move on, from understanding the self-concept, from understanding the purpose, and also from understanding the real self, and also understanding the ideal self, where they want to go. One of the books I normally read, among other self-help books, I don't always trust all the self-help books because they give me 5 steps too, or 7 steps too. Sometimes those steps don't work. Maybe one step works, but the other steps don't work. So I have a textbook that I call the Bible, because whenever you go and find those 5 steps, if you go back to the Bible, you will find those self-help steps are already in the Bible. So one of the things I discovered the other day, there are more than 100 Bible verses that say, examine yourself, study you, study the person that you are, study who you are, study whose you are, study what is your purpose, and then study the Bible itself as a book that gives you instructions to life. So it is kind of, it giving you basic instruction before life ends. That's what someone said. BIBLE, basic instructions before life ends. They're there. So I won't be able to quote all of those verses, but if you went and just Googled examine yourself Bible verses, you will find lots and lots of them. Yeah, you will find a lot of them. That's why I do this thing, because that's one of the textbooks I read. And of course, I have other things that flow in my mind, and then I study, I research, and I find quite a lot of things that have been already written. They were already there in the Bible. So today we are looking at emotions. That's what we are looking at. So Virginia Moremi says, karibu, and then we have Naftali Whalestone has joined us, and on the other side, I can see more people are coming in. Now, before we move on, I'm just going to do a quick recap from last week. Last week, I think people are a bit afraid because I wasn't talking about prosperity preaching. I wasn't telling people, oh, you're going to get a lot of money. Okay, maybe I forgot to ask for the seed. No, I shouldn't do that. No jokes, Esther. So last week I was talking about money, and we did conclude that money is not bad after all. Money is very good, but it's the way we handle that money that can bring some evil in it. So we were speaking about money, and we tied it to knowledge, and we said in the West or any other places, we know that money doesn't have value in itself. The value that money has, the knowledge that we have about money, is the power that it has been given by the government. So that bill, they call it money because it has been given the power by the government. So if I take $1, okay, people love dollars around the world. I think it's the most powerful money around the world. Okay, it's not strong like the UK pound at the moment, but the dollar, if you take it somewhere else, you need to convert it to be able to spend in that currency of that country. So whichever government and whichever currency they have chosen, it has to be authorized by the government to have value. And I said last week that if you went to Zimbabwe a few years ago, you could be a billionaire. And I think in one of the North Somalia countries, the one that is peaceful, not the one that is at war, not the South, the North, you can also be a billionaire there if you wanted to become. You can go convert your dollars into their currency and you're an instant billionaire. But that money doesn't have as much value. Like I said, the value is what is given to it by the government of that country. Then I tied it to time, and I said in the West, we are paid per time. So money is time. So given money is knowledge, given time, yeah, time, money is time, and then the money as we know it. But all of these can help us in the way we handle money. Yes, that's what we were saying. We need it for daily transactions. If we don't have money, we can't buy food. If we don't have money, we can't go to school. If we don't have money, we may not be able to do a lot of things that we do every day. I think somebody, Purity, said last week that 90% of the transactions, okay, those are not my statistics, but they say most of the things we do in this life do need money to handle it. So, karibu sana Simon Miner. Welcome, Sue Head, for joining in. You're very welcome. And then Doreen Kiyashi, also, you're very welcome. So we moved on and we said at the moment, if you know how you can use money, then you can be able to spend it wisely. If you do not know how, then again, it could be wasted. The same way, if we waste time, then we are not bringing in money. Money is very fluid. In the developing countries, they will tell you we need money to be flowing so that the economy can grow. If you keep money in the bank, then it's not helping. So it's not about accumulating savings account. And even if you took your money to the bank, they don't keep the money there. They give it out as loans so that the money can remain in the process and in fluidity in being spent, and the economy now is growing. And then remember, we said that money is good. Even we read the Bible and said money is good. It answers a lot of things that can be answered with money, but it doesn't necessarily buy happiness. It doesn't necessarily buy health. You can have the money, but it doesn't necessarily buy everything. Money does not bring happiness, but also it can bring some happiness to some extent, as we will be learning today, but it doesn't bring complete happiness. We have found people who are rich, they're not happy. We have found people who are poor, but they're very happy. So at the end of the day, yes, we did read the book of Ecclesiastes, which was saying everything is meaningless, everything is meaningless. And I said people who don't believe in God tend to read that Bible only at the meaningless vanity place, and they stop there. But if they went up to the last chapter, you will understand that God has said, or rather, the writer of the book said, the best thing to do is to fear God. That's the last thing you can think of after you've seen as if all the other things are vanity. If you fear God, then you have hope. And hope is one of the things we'll be looking at today. So it's about the self-concept, how you perceive yourself, how you perceive the environment, and how you think about the purposes that this life serves. From the very beginning, I had said purpose serves a need. So keep that in mind as we move on, and as you welcome, keep on welcoming people. I can see more people are coming in. So karibu sana, keep on welcoming people so that we can share this rediscovering the emotions and see where it's taking us about this rediscovering the emotion. So today, like I said, we are looking at the E aspect of the spices. So S stands for spiritual, P for physical, I for intellectual, C for commercial, and we have done SPIC. So today we are looking at the E part of it. When you see beautiful food on a plate or beautiful spices, I use symbolism to bring this into life, because when we speak about these things, like I'm saying, when I was talking about money last week, some people didn't like maybe the way I was bringing it because they don't like that taste of that topic. I would rather talk maybe about how much money is going to be coming in and how much we will be rich. But it doesn't matter. Spices are there. Some of them add value to our food. Some of them are herbal. Some of them add the taste. Some of them are hot. Some of them are bitter. It doesn't matter at the end of it all. Every topic, every subject, every discussion brings something and adds value to our lives, if you believe it. So karibu sana kwa wale wote wenye wameingia, karibu sana everybody who is joining in, and keep on sharing as you join in. So like I said, today we are looking at the emotional part of the spices. And again, we'll be looking at the self-concept. How do you see your emotions? Yeah, you know, when somebody says you're a very emotional person, what does that mean? Yeah, is that the way you know emotions about? Okay, maybe It's more than that. So how do we perceive the emotions that we have? Or how do we define the emotions? Or what's the point of emotions? All these things, we'll be looking at them today. Remember, we have said again, purpose serves a need. So what's the purpose of the emotions? What need do these emotions serve in our lives? So what I'm going to do is try to look at it in three parts and maybe extend it later on the framework of the spices of life. But I'm going to start with the definitions of emotions. So number one, I'll be starting with the definitions of emotions, their purpose, and then some of the emotional needs that we have. Then I'll be looking at some of the basic emotions that we have, the positive, the negative, and I will try to categorize them as positive and negative and maybe in between, and see whether you do experience these type of emotions. As you keep on welcoming people in, let's get started. I have a starter, and what I would like you to do now is to help me to name at least one emotion. It can be a positive, it can be a negative emotion. Just name one emotion. Please put that in the comments box so that we will start working together. Meanwhile, I'm going to call out those who have joined us. As you think about at least one emotion, you can write more than one. You're welcome to write a lot of them. And for those who will be calling, my number is +1 205 905 6440. Yes, my number is +1 205 905 644. It's an American number. When you call, please press *5 so that I can be able to see that you're raising your hand and you will be able to talk to me. If you're just tuning in on the phone to listen in, that's okay. Like I said, you can listen to us on Facebook Live. You can listen to us on YouTube Live. You can also listen to us on the app and on the telephone. So let's see some examples of emotions. Let's see some of examples of the emotions coming in. Let's see. So John Karuri is saying, tuned in. Hello, Esther. Doreen Kinyasi is saying she is tuned in. Karibu sana. And let's do the starter. Thank you so much, Jackie Madhaga, my friend, for joining in. And you say joy. I love joy. You see, I think I'm naturally a joyful person, but it doesn't mean that sometimes I'm not sad. But it's always good to have that well of joy coming in. So keep on telling me some of the emotions that you could name. It could be a positive or it could be a negative emotion. And I'll be looking at the Facebook responses that I've had this week, because I did ask the same question and it came in. So Rose Richardson says sadness and happiness. So one kind of, I don't necessarily call them negative. I will tell you why later on, because they all serve a purpose. So sadness, happiness. Yeah, you can have sadness or you can have happiness. Keep them coming in. I would like to know a number of, yes, some of them. Now, while you're thinking about that, Gladys Minor, you're very welcome. What would you do if I started crying now? What would you do? If I started crying now, how would you help me? Fear, anger, Jackie Madhaga is saying, fear and anger. Let me just start crying now. What would you do if I started crying now? What would you do? And what could be causing my crying, if you could think of it? What could be causing my crying? Mary says, Karibu sana. So I'm looking for examples of at least one emotion, either positive or negative, as you may call them. Now, if I started laughing, oh, dear, started laughing. What would you do? Are you laughing or are you just watching me and thinking this Esther is now, I don't know what's up with her. If I started laughing, what would you do? Yeah, so if I started crying, would you cry with me? If I started laughing, would you laugh with me? Oh, oh, somebody wants to hug me. Oh, Jackie Madhaga, I am crying. Come and hug me. I'm spreading my, yes, let me spread my wings across where you are. Thank you very much for comforting me with the hugs. Thank you very much. So Jackie Madhaga said, oh my, hug you, cry with you. It's very important to empathize with people and cry with them when they're crying. One of the things that have amazed me on Facebook and social media is when somebody dies, oh, thousands and thousands of comments come in, but I don't know whether those thousands and thousands of comments are for the dead person or for the living one. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm shocked. Sometimes I tend to say, why don't we comment on people's postings while they're alive rather than wait when they're dead and then you say RIP? Is that RIP a by the way, or is it really meant? Yeah, rest in peace? I don't know. So sometimes I get shocked, but that's just the thought. Yeah, so I said, if I start laughing, oh dear, if I start laughing, what would you do? What would you do? Would you be wondering what's happening with Esther? Why is she laughing like this? I don't know. Yeah. So I'm seeing people coming in. So I have Alice Njuguna also tuning in, and I have Elizabeth Washira joining in on the other side. We are naming one emotion, at least one emotion, and then we have Wairimo Mwenda also joining in from Bahrain. Karibu sana, you're very welcome. So I have a few examples. Okay, Jackie Mathaga said, if you start laughing, it will depend on how fast I switch you from the crying to the laughing. I could be crying because of joy. I could be laughing because of joy. So you said you tuned it, Jackie Madaga, and you're making my day today. Thank you, Jackie. You tuned it in. So when I started crying, you wanted to hug me. And then when you hug me, then I feel so happy. Then I start laughing. And those can be mixed feelings. Out of joy, I can cry. Out of sadness, I can cry. Out of joy, I can be happy and I can start laughing. And sometimes when troubles come, I know one of my friends who laughs at trouble. So there we go. It depends. It depends. Okay. Mashvigi said sadness or sad. And then Priscilla Mwangi saying she's tuned in from Kingwena, Zanzibar. Karibu sana, near Tanzania, the other side. Alice Njuguna, karibu sana, karibu sana. Now, as we continue giving examples of the emotion, at least one emotion, I had a few Facebook friends who had commented initially, but before I do that, I have cried and I have laughed. Okay, I didn't quite cry, but I was saying if I started crying, but laughter, I have laughed. Do you think laughter is an emotion or not? Is laughter an emotion or not? This is learning because people may have always maybe said laughing is an emotion. Is it an emotion or is it not an emotion? So let me know what your thoughts are about laughter. Meanwhile, as you think about whether it is an emotion or not an emotion, that is laughter, the laughing. Is that an emotion or it's not an emotion? Sylvia Ndungu had said fear, anger, and then she said hunger. So I'm wondering, is hunger also an emotion or not an emotion? Love, we will be asking about the same question later on and many more. That's what she said. Then Caroline said happiness, and Joki Ndungu said sadness. Margaret Kinuthia said fear. Tash McLeod said anxiety. Lynn Mumbi said sorrow. Abilisa said love. Esther Mangula said joy, hope, and also despair. Then Anne Wanjiro said fear, and Samuel Kimani said love. Those are some of the examples I got online earlier on, and I'm just wondering whether you have more examples that you could give me. My sessions are not normally talk. They're very interactive, so you need to be talking to me so that I know I am not on my own. So anybody giving me an example, is laughter an emotion or not an emotion? Is laughter an emotion or not an emotion? So karibuni sana as you keep on joining me. Let me check also on the app and on WhatsApp as well to see who else is joining me on the other side so that I don't keep maybe ignoring some of my friends. I should make sure. So Josie Rich, my DEO, my Director of Operations, karibu sana. I know you're always there helping me behind the scenes as my producer. Thank you so much. And thank you also so much for the CEO of this KDM platform, because he gave me this opportunity. I will always be thankful for that. So Joanne is tuned in, and then Reverend Wamugo is tuned in, and then Gladys Minor as well is tuned in from this other side. Karibuni sana. I do like to recognize people and to appreciate their presence right now. And who else is joining here? Maria Mwihaki, you're tuning in from Kenya. Hellos, karibu sana. Karibu sana. So I haven't got an answer yet whether laughter is an emotion or not. If I haven't got an answer, maybe I should give you my thought about it. Laughter in itself is not an emotion, but it's a reaction, or rather a signal of other feelings. Like I said a moment ago, I could be happy, then I could be laughing, or I could be laughing at my own problems. Yeah, Jackie Madaga says again, laughter is a spillover from feeling happy. I think, yes, it is. It is a reaction from other things. So if I see funny cats, they make me laugh, Yeah, even yesterday I saw a kitty playing, a kitten playing, and they just set me up laughing. And then the other things that happen around me, if I excuse me, if I like now there's something on my lips like that, it just makes me laugh because I find it's funny. Why did that piece of food just decide to come out just when I'm talking like this, or something that was on my lips? It's funny. Yeah. And then when I find maybe some people like in the West here, wazungus, they trump in public, it makes me laugh. I can't be able to hold myself, they just let the air go. Brr. Oh dear, that makes me laugh. So it's kind of a spillover or a signal, or it's a reaction to something else that could be happening. Just like Jackie Madaga said, laughter is a spillover from some other feelings or something funny you have seen. Shekoyemi Mary says laughter is an expression of how you feel. Yes, Mary, I know you love laughing. So it's an expression that brings also the joy that is within. Thank you so much. So those are the kind of things we are going to be rediscovering today. Some of the things we classify as emotion, are they really emotions, or are they just something else? Now, although emotions seems easy to define, when you talk to people about emotions, it seems like they're very easy to define, but we just know a few common emotions, and those are the ones we define. In itself, emotion is complex. Even the psychologists themselves and the learned people, they find it really difficult to kind of define. They come up with different types of definitions, and those are very complicated sometimes. But for the sake of this program tonight or today, I'm going to use it interchangeably with feelings. They're not exactly the same, but for the sake of what I'm handling for now, I'm just going to talk about emotions being like feelings. They're like feelings, so that we can be able to understand this. Thank you so much, Rachel Ray, for sharing. And thank you so much, Maria Mwihaki, for sharing with all these people that you have shared with. And you're saying it's a great topic. Thank you so much, Lucy Mogania, for joining in. Karibu sana. And who else is joining this side? Sarah Muasia, karibu sana. Wairimu Mwenda, karibu sana. Elizabeth Washira, karibu sana. Thank you so much. Now, for those who take notes, have your pen and paper ready. Let's start defining. Let's start the definitions. One, it's complex, so I don't have a specific definition, but I will say I will interchangeably use them with feelings. So, but one thing I know, this is what emotions do. They stir up something within. They stir up something, or they shift something in our hearts, in our minds, in our bodies. They do something. So it's something that moves us from within. Most of the time it's from within, and then you can see it now. Yeah, my smile, my facial expressions, my laughter. Yeah, you can see it in the physical. So an emotion is something that stirs up within, or shifts our hearts, or shifts our mind, or shifts our body in a way that we have a kind of a feeling. And that feeling can be inside. Yes, you can say, I'm feeling good, or I'm thinking good, or my body is just feeling good. It's feeling nice and warm because I am happy, something like that. It has to shift something within us. Therefore, we can say emotions can affect our biology, they can affect our psychology, as well as our spirit. Yes, they can affect many other parts of who we are, but I'm going to just deal with the biology, psychology. Sometimes they say the physiology. Yeah, but I will say the biology, that is the body, and psychology is part of the body, that is the brain and all that. And then psychology is also part of the mind and our spirit. Yes, and they can affect the way we think. So emotions can affect the thoughts, they can affect the way we feel, and it can be the feeling sometimes even on the surface here. Somebody who is scared, they can start sweating. Yeah, so there's the feeling that comes from within, and there's that feeling that is superficial, or rather on the surface. It affects our behavior, it affects our moods, it affects our personality, or the other way around, our personality can affect our feelings or our emotions. those are just a few examples of the way emotions can affect us. Thank you so much, Maria Mwihaki, and thank you so much, Lucy Muungania, for joining in. Karibu sana. So note that there are some people who do not have emotions or feelings. There are some people who do not have emotions or feelings. Sometimes it's out of choice, but it's difficult to be just choosing that you won't have any emotions. But sometimes it's because of the chemical balances in the body or something within them is not quite okay. And that's why they may not have those emotions, but we'll expand that later. So that's for the definition. So in a nutshell, the definition is, yes, we can call emotions feelings sometimes. They do stir up something within, in the heart, in the mind, in the body, in the spirit. That is, they can affect our biology, our psychology, our spirit. It can affect the way we think, the way we behave, the way the mood swings are, the personality, and many other things. But sometimes people do not have emotions whatsoever. Now, the second thing I'm looking at is the purpose of emotions. So pay attention if you're copying notes. This is the purpose of the emotions now. What is the purpose? Why do we have feelings? Why do we have the emotions? So every emotion has its specific purpose. Remember, I said purpose serves a need. So every emotion has its specific purpose that serves that particular need. Yeah, it serves a specific need. For instance, if I'm scared, if there is fear, it depends on what I am afraid of. This can be something or somebody, or maybe just I am scared because I'm thinking of something scary. I can be fearful because I'm thinking of something scary. Like when we were younger, I don't know what used to happen. We just used to think there is someone under the bed. So if the room was dark, you didn't want to go into that room because you were afraid that there could be someone under the bed and they could attack you or something. Nobody ever did that. But we never went into dark rooms without a light because we were scared. We were scared of something. So this fear that we have, I was saying an emotion serves a specific need. So if, for example, I have fear can help me to make a decision very quickly. So I can decide I'm not going into that room because there's something scary or I will be attacked. It helps me to make a decision. It helps someone to make a decision. Again, if there was a lion on the path or a lion in the forest where you're going to pass through on your way home, then you'll be scared. You'll be fearful. One of the things you could do, and this is also discussed by psychologists and biologists, you can decide to fight. Yes, if you had a big stick, you can say, if this lion comes my way, I don't know whether we can manage to fight a lion. They're huge. But maybe if it's a baby lion, maybe you can fight it, or a smaller animal, maybe you can fight that. But whichever way, if you have a gun, yes, if you work as a wildlife services person, then you can be able to fight the lion. If you're driving, you can decide to drive over and kill the lion. The Maasai people of Kenya, they always have a spear, so they can decide they're going to fight this lion with a spear. And sometimes you can decide to flight. You take a flight, you run. You run away from the problem. One of the things that the scientists have not added is the fright itself. So you can be frightened. So normally you can fight, flight, or fright. When you become frightened, you can freeze. You can just stand there and not move, right? Now, with that, there are two reactions. The body goes into a shock. You're frightened. You can either be attacked and be eaten. Alternatively, if the other animal or the other person is also frightened, maybe you decide to take a runner. Both of you take a flight because you don't know why this thing just froze. Did it just freeze because that's the way to fight? Or I don't know. So you can decide either to fright after that. Maybe the other animal that was about to attack and decide, oh, this is now dead. I'm not going to attack. So fighting means you use every weapon, every strength, every bit of energy that you have for survival. So the need here is the survival, or rather the purpose is for survival. The same with flight, it's for survival. Fright as well, just freezing. Now that you're gone because you're not so sure what to do. And it's the most dangerous place to be frightened, to be fearful. So an emotion, if you choose to live a fearful life, It's like you're frozen in space. It's like you're frozen in life. You're not moving. You're just there. And it's a problem because that's the most vulnerable, dangerous position to be, because it's like you're paralyzed. You cannot run away. You cannot fight. You're just there, frozen. Let me see who is coming in on the other side. Fiona, you say you're tuned in from Juja. Karibu sana. Karibu sana. You're very welcome. And on this side, let's see who else is joining us on this other side. Karibu sana. Everyone that has been tagged, karibu, karibu, karibu. I am liking this. I'm liking this. So we've been talking about the purpose, a few purposes of the emotions that we have. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm moving on to the second part of it. So the enemy can attack and it can kill unless you take a flight. That is if you run away, because the frozen nature can confuse them. And I'm going to give you an example. In the Bible, I like using the Bible examples. In the Bible, in the Garden of Eden, there was a curse pronounced over the snake, and also another curse kind of was pronounced on the woman. And they were said, like, when these two meet, the children or the produce of the woman will be hitting the head of the snake. Nowadays, in real sense, apart from the snakes that have been kept as pets, right? And thank you so much, Ngugi Michael, for joining in on the telephone, the other side. Thank you so much. If the snake sees a human being, it runs off unless it's very hungry and it wants to try and put its venom. They don't necessarily kind of swallow a human being. They spit their venom and therefore kind of poison before they can take it, because they know mankind would be able also to kill it. So you can see there is the fear from both sides. So the human being is fearing the snake is fearing the human being. So sometimes they attack each other, sometimes they run away from each other, and sometimes we just stand and scream, "Snake, come and help me, come and help me." I remember one of the programs here while we were saying, what are you most afraid of? What are you most afraid of? People said snakes, and scorpions. People are saying those things that they're afraid of. Now, closer to home, one of the mornings I was walking and I just stepped out when it was a bit dark. And for the first time, I met a hedgehog, just a little animal, a hedgehog. When I put my spotlight on it, it rolled up like a ball. It just rolled up and it froze and it wasn't moving. I was so fascinated. So I took my video camera and I was taking photos of it. Every time I switched off my spotlight, this thing would be just running off on the pavement. And it was very interesting. So that was a defense mechanism. So in future, if somebody asks you, why do we have emotions? Just tell them there are reasons behind it. One of them, for example, is for survival. They just want to protect themselves. It's for survival from the beginning to the end. That's one of the reasons why we have some of the emotions. But like we had said earlier, happiness, for example, can be expressed in different ways. So there are other reasons and there are other needs that emotions serve. Now, when I'm talking about this one of freezing or fear, it's because this book that I read called the Bible tells me, do not fear, Esther, do not fear, so many times. And I'm going to ask you later on, just Google or find in your Bible how many times the word do not fear is written. One time I hear somebody was saying it's written more than 365 times. So it's good for you to be telling yourself every day, there's nothing to fear about life, not even death itself. So do not fear. Earlier on, we had a program here called Mogate wa Moyo, the bread of life. And we were being told about the hope we have of a new Jerusalem one day, of a new changed world where we will not have COVID-19, where we will not have death. Things will be turned around for us for good. And that hope now can come and revive us for not fearing now. We shouldn't be frozen by this stuff. It's written more than I hear, 365 times. Do not fear, do not fear. Enough, do not fear for you every morning. So Google it out later on and find out how many times the do not fears have been written in the Bible. Last week, we were also reading the book of Ecclesiastes, and it says, the only thing to fear at the end of the day is God, because he's the one who holds your soul. He's the one who holds your life. He's the one who made you. And we don't just fear God because we are scared of him. We fear him because we respect him so much because of what he has created us to be and what he has provided for us in this life. We appreciate God until we fear him. That is big respect, awe of him, yeah, reverence, more than being scared, that scary of the animal. But we still need to be fearful of him, because he's the one who sent the children, I mean, Adam and Eve, from the Garden of Eden. So when he's angry, because God has emotions as well, he is capable of destroying. You know, even the flood, the Noah's Ark, it was flooded, right? The whole world was flooded, and he destroyed human beings. So he has that capability of also having both positive and negative emotions. Sometimes people don't like talking about the negative emotions of God. Yes, somebody was saying 365 times. Yes, that is Eunice Njeri. Karibu sana Wamboi wa Kamilas, and karibu sana Maria Mehaki. Karibu tena sana sana on this side. And if you're joining in on YouTube, karibu sana as well. So we've already established it's for survival. One of the purpose for the emotions and their needs is for survival. And there are many types of kind of those emotions that help us in the survival, right? And then the other thing, emotion, yeah, it's a desired state. Yes, if I go back to what Mary had said, Mary Okoro, and someone else had said about happiness, Rose Richardson had said about happiness. Most of us desire to be happy. I desire to be happy. If I can live in this state of just being happy and joyous and just at peace, I'll be very happy. Yeah, that's what we desire. I don't know what your desire is. Yeah, remember I did talk about what do you fear the most. So what's your desire now? What do you desire? Yes, I desire happiness. I desire peace. I want to go to bed and know nobody will break my door. I want to know that I can just be there relaxed and just smiling and just feeling, yes, at that happiness state. So in the context of happiness, right, or being happy, I don't know whether to say, yes, if you want to be happy, it's kind of we go seeking those things that will make us stay in that state, because happiness is very temporary. Compared to what Jackie Madaga had said, joy is different. So I can choose to be joyful regardless of my circumstances, because I have hope, because there is something else I'm hoping for. So if I'm hoping for heaven one day, I told you, one of the goals that I have for my life is to get to heaven. So when I remember heaven and death is staring at me, then I can be joyous and say, I'm going home one day to meet my maker. So that one I can kind of make myself feel hopeful so that I can be able to see the heaven that I'm going to. But happiness is kind of up and down. It's like a yo-yo. It's up and down. So sometimes we look for those things that make us happy. And one of the things I've been fighting recently, for example, it's food. I love food. So sometimes when I'm feeling like I want to be happy, I used to go for food. I used to go for a nice milky cup of tea. But I am learning to do self-control slowly by slowly. I don't have to comfort myself with food. I don't have to make myself happy with food. You see these chubby chicks, I don't want them to keep on puffing up, puffing up, puffing up. I don't want my waistline to keep on growing, growing, growing. One of our doctors at the KDM has been teaching us about healthy eating and taking care of our bodies. So I'm trying to cut down. I don't want to have a sugar hype. Yeah, happy because of the sugar. No, I want to remain balance. So there is a balance of happiness. I can be happy, but it doesn't necessarily have to be brought by food. It doesn't have to be brought by substances. It doesn't have to be brought by money. It doesn't have to be, I need to be contented. So last week I was asking you, would you rather have big amounts of money or a lot of money or just enough? And most of you said just enough. Just enough. So on this other side, I can see Eunice Jerry has joined us, and she says this: emotions motivate behavior and are related directly to human reactions. I love that. Thank you so much, Eunice Jerry. I'm going to repeat that. Emotions motivate behavior and are related directly to human reactions. And Jackie Madaga said, potatoes, they make me happy. Are they mashed potatoes or chips or just mashed potatoes in mokimo? That is Jackie Madaga. Yes. Sponge cake used to make me happy as well. Biscuits used to make me happy. But in the next session next week, I'll be talking about our emotions, the ones we carry from childhood, bringing them into adulthood, and why sometimes those things appear in adulthood. But today I'm talking about the need. Yeah. At the moment, I'm talking about the need. Yeah. and sometimes the things that trigger our emotions. Okay, so sometimes, like I've already said, emotions are triggered for survival. They're there because we are running away from danger. We want to be alert out of these dangers that could be facing us, and we are ready to fight, to flight, or fright. And there are many triggers that can trigger our emotion depending on the type of emotion that we are going for. Moving forward, as you keep on welcoming your friends to join in, moving forward, I am going now to try and categorize, emotions. So whether they are positive or negative, I'm going to try and categorize emotions, the positive and the negative. It's not easy sometimes, because if we go back to the story I was talking about last week about the Garden of Eden, when we ate that tree of knowledge of good and evil. So sometimes we can classify this as evil emotion and this one as good emotion, but not necessarily that. Because you remember that fear, you can call it as if it's a bad negative emotion, but in actual sense, it's not a bad negative emotion. Why? Because it's helping us to survive. So at the end of the day, fear is good because it's helping us to survive. So you have to kind of try and draw the line in the context. Just think around the context. When is fear bad and when is fear good? So the fear that paralyzes you and you're not able to move on, that's not good fear. The fear that paralyzes you that you're not successful in life because you're scared of failing, that's not good fear. But I'm going to try to categorize a few of them. So it's complex, but before we think about the worst and the good, remember what we discussed last time. For those who are in session, we need to be able to think about what we know, how we reason around it, and how we understand around it. So for those who understand with evidence, we call it objectivity. And for those who understand with their subjectivity inside without the evidence, again, that's a different way of understanding. And that's the same way we kind of understand the emotions. You know it, you think around it through reasoning, and then you kind of have your own understanding. Remember, as we began the topic, I was saying it's the self-concept and the way you perceive the world and the purposes around that. And then you can be able to build your life based on how you know, or what you reason out, or how you think through things and the way you understand them. So on that basis, I have 3 questions that I want us to think about together. I have 3 questions that I want us to think about together. And I'm also checking on this side who is joining in as we move on, and also on Facebook. Yes. So I have 3 questions, and I'm going to try to go one by one. And before I do that, there's one of my favorite verses in the Bible. It says this: and all these 3 remain: faith, hope, and love. So I want to categorize the positive ones first. But before I do that, I'm trying to say one of the verses of the Bible says, and all these 3 remain. Now, let's use our knowledge, let's use our reasoning, and let's use our understanding. Tell me, is faith an emotion? Is faith an emotion? Is faith an emotion? I'd like you to try. There's no right or wrong answer. So you can tell me faith is an emotion or it's not an emotion. If you want to try to explain it, I'm going to read your answer. So I'm just going to give you a moment as I recognize people who have joined me on the other side, this side here. I'm going to start with Maladasha, who is watching, Simon Washira, who is watching, Bania Kwalu, who is watching, Nancy Rory as well, Doreen Kinyashi, sorry, and then Elizabeth Washira, Wairimu Mwenda, Sarah Muasia, Fiona Kenya. On this other side, they're watching on YouTube, and many more that are watching and not commenting. And then on this other side, as I wait whether faith is an emotion or not an emotion. So here we go. Alice Juguna, karibu sana. Mash Vigi, karibu sana. Priscilla Mwangi, Maria Mwihaki, Rose Richardson, Jackie Mathaga, Shekoyemi Mary, and we keep on going. Lucy Mungania, Kenyanya HKK, that's my friend from the US as well. Maria Mwihaki, karibu sana, and Lucy Mungania, karibu sana. And then we keep on moving and keep on welcoming your friends. Eunice Njeri, karibu sana. Wamboi wa Kamilas, karibu sana. And David Kahoi, Pastor, Here he is adding something. Thank you so much, Pastor Kahoy. Let me add this. The Bible is the word of God. The word is God, and the word is life. When you understand the word of God, you don't survive, you live. I like that. I like that. I really love that. Yes. When you understand the word of God, you don't just survive, you start living your life. You become alive. I love that. Thank you so much, Pastor Kahoy. Yes. So the emotions, like we go back to that 365 emotions, you do not fear anymore. The only person you have to respect, the fear, the good fear, reverence, is God. Therefore, I asked a question: is faith an emotion or not an emotion? And I'm going to help you because I think maybe you're not so sure whether it's the right or the wrong answer. Let me help you this with my take. So some people, whether religious or not religious, by the way, even non-religious people have a type of faith. We have faith in God, but they have also faith in other things. We have faith in our employers paying us at the end of the month. We work and we have faith that they will pay. So there are many types of faith, but this particular faith, some people say, whether religious or non-religious, that faith is purely emotional. But I refuse that. Yeah, I say, yeah, we have another definition past that. Yeah, so we will move on and you will see where I'm coming from. So some people say we have a blind faith. Yeah, a baseless belief. That's what they say. It's like we're just jumping into saying we believe in God or we have faith in God, but it's like, when I go back to that subjectivity and objectivity, evidence and no evidence. So some people say we don't have the evidence for this faith. But if you try to think of it logically, yeah, because some people try to think it logically and reason out, firmly grounded on the evidence that they have, they end up saying there's no evidence of God. But may I ask you a question? If there's no evidence of a God, where did we come from, and where did all the surrounding things, beauty that we have, come from? You know, even without going very deep into that, all this diversity and beauty that we have, where did it come from? If you don't want to think of a God, there's so much evidence. We Christians, I am a Christian, we look into the evidence of Jesus historically, right? And what is written about him, the evidence that we have about Jesus and the life he lived. And then we have our own personal experiences. That's enough evidence to give me that faith, rest, it is a belief. Yes, it's not necessarily an emotion. We just don't do it emotionally. Not because they sang very emotional songs, then we decided I'm going to be born again now. That's what we used to do in high school. Just because the exams are around the corner, that's when we became born again, because that's when we wanted to really pray. Yes, we were moved by emotions, but faith should not be taken on emotions, and it's not an emotion itself, although faith can stir up other emotions in us. So faith, if you're writing notes, faith is a belief. And once it's a belief, you take action. So faith without actions is dead. That's what the book of James says. Faith without action is dead. So you have a belief, and then after that belief, you act upon, yes, that belief. So faith becomes the fact that it is the truth. All right. Now, when we have faith, it can stir up some other emotions within. Just like I was saying, laughter is not an emotion itself, but it can stir up or it can come out from other sources. So in the process of having faith, I can become euphoric. I can be so excited about the wonders of God and how marvelous he is. And then I'm just beyond just being comforted. Or I can become too happy. I can become peaceful. I can become hopeful because I have faith. Right? I hope that is quite clear. I don't believe faith is a feeling, and I don't believe we should just go and receive, yeah, or rather believe in God on the basis of just emotions. We need to go past that and understand and have the evidence and have the experience. So the belief goes beyond just the belief. So we act upon what we believe. It's an action. All right. One other question, because I said in this First Corinthians chapter 13, it says those three remain. I'm asking another question. Yes, I'm going to ask another question here. Is hope an emotion? Is hope an emotion? Is hope an emotion? Is hope an emotion? Yes, thank you. You have corrected the word live. Yes, I did understand it's about being alive. So is faith Faith is a belief. Yes, faith is a belief, and faith is also an action. We act upon what we believe. So the next question is hope an emotion? Is hope an emotion? Is hope an emotion? Yeah, and let me help you with this one as well. I don't believe hope is an emotion as itself. It is also a belief. It is also a belief that things will get better despite no evidence or proof. Even when we think we don't have the evidence or the proof, we have hope. Just like faith, yes, it's a belief that we act upon. It's a belief that we act upon. Now, this is difficult, yeah, in evidence, in getting the evidence. We just hope. But because we hope in a God who created us and gave us everything that we need for this life, everything that we need for this godly living, then we keep on hoping. Yes, we keep on hoping. So you can make yourself feel hopeful. Now, that hopefulness is a feeling, because once you've made yourself feel hopeful, it's like you're looking forward to this thing in anticipation. You no longer feel hollow. You feel like there is something you're looking forward to. You feel joyous. So it can also stir up other emotions. So it does no longer become just a belief that is dead. It is a belief that is accompanied by the actions that you take towards how you believe. So hope is a belief. The opposite of hope, one of the opposites of hope, is being in despair or hopelessness. So when you feel hopelessness, it's like you're almost dead. It's like you don't have any, you don't want to face tomorrow because you don't have a hope for tomorrow. You just are despaired. And sometimes that can make your heart feel like it's really sick. That's what my Bible also says. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. So you can start feeling hollow just because you don't have it. And the last one, but it's not the least one, I think it's the most important one. What about love? Is love an emotion? Now, this is challenging. I don't know where everybody else, those ones who like discussing about love and falling in love, because this is wide. It's very wide. And I'm not going to break it down to agape or filial love and all that. I'm not going to break into that because I just want to keep it simplified the way I have read it in the Bible. Yeah, the three things that remain, because they are the most positive things that can be promised by the Bible. But are they emotions? Are they emotions? People say love is the best emotion, but is it an emotion really? Now, this I'm going to say love is a choice. Love is a choice, it's a belief, and it's an action. Yes, and that's why when the Bible says love your enemy, you've got to choose to obey God so that you can love this enemy. It's not easy to love an enemy. It's not easy to love your ex who you have fell out with. It's not easy to love people who are not nice and lovable people. It's not easy to love them, I'm telling you. But because it's made to be a commandment for us and it's made to be a choice, yeah, because we love God, then we have to love the ones He has commanded us to love. Then we go ahead in choosing love rather than hate. Because when I choose hate, then the hate hurts me. It doesn't hurt the other person, because it's like I'm carrying this burden of hate and I'm hating the other person. It's hurting me. Just the same way I have said once, unforgiveness hurts me. It doesn't hurt the other person, it hurts me. So love is a choice. Yeah, before it becomes the product or rather other emotions come out of it. Somebody say love is a feeling. No, okay. I will dispute that, Mary, in a moment, and I will tell you why. It's not just a feeling. Feeling is something that comes out of it. So love in itself is something we choose to do as an action. We choose it to do, and it's also a belief. We believe in the love because God has loved us before we loved Him. He chose us. He decided to do creation before we were there. You know, most of us normally say, oh, I've chosen God. I have chosen to believe in God. He has chosen us before, and He has put the salvation plan way before. So the way God loves us, He has chosen to love us. And therefore, we choose to give Him that love back. Okay, when we refuse, we disobey because we don't want to love God, right? So love is a choice, one. Love is also a belief because we believe God loves us, so He created us, and therefore we can love Him back because He has created us. He had a creation plan before we were there, right? And then the action of creation after that, he put the salvation plan after the fall of man. Yeah. So again, it's God out of his love that he did that. So the Bible says, for God so loved the world in John 3:16 that he sent his only begotten son. That's the action he did. He loved, yeah, and to show us that he really, really loved us. He gave us a good, wonderful world to live in. But because of the fall of man, he sent his son Jesus to come and rescue us back into salvation plan. So it's like a full circle. Now, when it comes to these other things of feelings, right? Love can be shown with feelings. You can have affection. You can have affection for other people. You can have affection for God. You can have a liking, a fondness, just the faithfulness towards God, because now you have chosen to love God. You decide now to act on that love. So, like I said again, there is a belief and there is the action out of it. So, within you believing and trusting that this love, otherwise, if you ever thought about, you can't hold love in itself, and it will be difficult to love everybody. So you can't be feeling good about everybody. No, no, no. You choose because you've been told about it. Then out of that, you act with love. And that's why the Bible says when you love your enemy, it's like you are putting coals on their head because you're doing kind things to them. You're treating them nicely. You're not treating them with hate. You're not treating them negatively. You're treating them nicely. So the feelings, like you say, there are feelings, Mary, that come out of love. These include compassion. So when I have compassion, then I'm able to bring people to Christ and tell them, look, Christ, God loves you. Yeah. And I don't want you to lose your soul because God has loved us. You have affection. You feel good because other people are pouring that love into you and you are pouring that love to those people. You feel fond of those people. You kind of develop this fondness, a liking of them. You feel empathy for them. You feel gracious. You feel merciful. You feel faithful. You are filled with joy because you love and you trust. Yes, there's so many things that can come out of love. You feel gratitude. So when people ask, how can I show love? How can I show love to God? Be thankful, be obedient. Things like that can help. Be inspiring, be motivating, be accepting. Yes, be validating other people. Have the security because God has loved you. And I like what Pastor Kaho is also saying here. He's saying, and then Josie Rich is saying very educative. And Maria Muhaki saying great and awesome. Pastor Kahoy, you're saying Psalms 53 verse 1, only fool says there is no God. Those people who are empty-headed are the ones that say there is no God. I'm reading from Pastor Kahoy's here. And they are corrupt and evil and have committed repulsive injustice. There is no one who does good. Yes, I think there's another verse in the Bible that say we human beings are evil. You know, our hearts just kind of conceive this evil and they always want to do things that are evil and all that. So let's establish this. Love, you choose to love. It's a choice. It's a belief as well. And out of that, you act upon it. So the action is the one that now kind of brings out these other feelings. Yeah, compassionate, affection, fondness, empathy. Yeah, merciful. Yeah, all these things bring up. Yeah. The question was, is love an emotion? Is love a feeling? Yes, it's not necessarily just a feeling in itself, although it can be surrounded by many other emotions. So there are many other examples of positive emotions that can come out of love, and each of them can be further explained somehow, but not necessarily today. Otherwise, we will sleep here. Okay. I hope I am with everybody, and I hope people are still learning a little bit more. Yeah, Gladys Mine say learning so much. Yes, these are some things that are deeper. Sometimes we don't want to sit down and talk about them, but it's important that we understand so that when we are asked, how do you love someone? How do you love your enemy? How do you love somebody who is not likable? You choose to love them because one, it's a commandment. God commands us as the most important commandment. Yeah, the greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and everything that you are. Even if you don't see him with the physical eyes, you have faith in that God. And then you choose to give back that love that he has already given you and chosen you to love you. So let's move on. I think I've talked about the positive ones. Now I'm going to move on and say about the negative emotions. I won't go so much in details because we like to be in the positive. I can see somebody's come up with Joan Karuri says, explained Esther. Faith is a belief, that's right. And then it's followed by an action. And hope is not an emotion. Yes, it's not an emotion, it's a belief as well. And out of that belief, we act upon that. If you have hope of getting into heaven one day, then you walk towards heaven. You do things that are leading you towards heaven. You don't do things that bring hopelessness. You hope, you have faith, and you love. And the three of them is like a cord of three. They're tied together. Thank you so much. So let's move on to the negative emotions. And I won't go so much in depth in this one, but I'm going to try and explain a few of them. So where there is positive emotions, you can also find negative emotions. Remember, I said we can't categorize them as good, evil, bad, and it depends on the context of when you can define an emotion as a negative emotion. So some of the emotions that we have when they are negative, it's something which causes you to feel a bit miserable, you feel sad, you feel displeased. Anything that makes you feel like that, then we can classify as a negative emotion. Whereas the positive emotions are the things that make you feel good. They make you feel maybe comfortable. They make you feel like there is hope. Those are the positive. The negative ones go in the opposite. They make you feel miserable, sad, displeased. Yes. And some of the examples of these ones could include anger. Yeah. When you're angry, then you can start feeling like, oh, later on, after the anger, you feel miserable, you feel sad, you think, oh, I shouldn't have done that. The Bible tells us not to sleep over the anger. Yeah, you don't go to bed with anger, because if you go, it just eats you up. So it's good to let go before you go to bed. If you find yourself constantly angry, then it's a time to check your emotions, because they need to be reversed this way. Yeah, let go the thing that is causing you anger all the time. The other type of negative emotion that we have is regret. Yeah, so many people can't live in regret. Oh, I didn't do this when I was young, I didn't do this, or I missed on this, or they didn't do this for me. Regretting the past. Yeah, that can also cause you to live in the past rather than living in the future. I mean, with a hope for the future, rather than trusting God, having faith that He can lead you into the future. The other negative emotion you can have is the hopelessness. We said about hope as being a belief and an action, but it can bring other emotions. But the feeling of hopeful is a positive emotion. That is an emotion. And hopelessness is a negative emotion, because you feel something is missing. You feel like there is an emptiness. You feel like you're becoming depressed. Yes, those are some of the hopelessness, the feeling of being hopeless can be very negative. The other one is guilt. When you've done something wrong, or you have missed on doing something, then you can feel guilty. Yeah, you can start feeling, oh dear, now what do I do? Will God ever forgive me? Will people ever forgive me? Yeah, you just wonder whether this thing will ever go. Will this load be ever lifted from me? Things like that happen. The other one is loneliness. Yeah, you can be left. I mean, you're feeling lonely. You can be among people, but you're feeling lonely. You can be alone, but you may not be lonely. I hope it's making sense. So you can be alone, but not lonely. But you can be with other people and you're feeling very lonely, because this thing is from inside. It's a feeling. So there's something missing, right? And that's why that loneliness may be there. Sometimes it's feeling overwhelmed, right? And it's not being overwhelmed by happiness. It's maybe being overwhelmed by sadness, being overwhelmed by stress, being overwhelmed by everything negative. I'd rather be overwhelmed by joy, because when I'm overwhelmed by joy, then I'm just floating, I'm swimming in the ocean of joy. But being overwhelmed by things that are bringing me down, that things that are making me negative, that can lead me into depression. And that's where sometimes people end up in a depressed mood or in a depressed situation, and it becomes a mental health problem, because either they're feeling too lonely, they are being overwhelmed by everything that is happening around them. And then we have resentment. Now, resentment sometimes it's directed towards other people. So you just decide, I don't like this person anymore. I don't like them. Yeah, I'm angry with them. And then you start resenting them. That is the one that is directed outward. But you're still carrying it, because it's like like you're carrying that burden of, I don't like this person, or I resent them, or I detest them, or I don't like what they do, I don't like how they look, I don't, you have so many things that you don't like about that person. In as much as it's directed to the other person, you are carrying that burden of resentment. It's just like unforgiveness. Failure. So people tend to feel like they have failed. And when they feel like they're a failure, then they feel sad and they can remain in that situation and fail. You know, like this example I was giving you earlier on about fear. Yes, when you're scared, like that hedgehog of mine, it rolls up and it's in shock and it doesn't move. So some people, when they fail, they stay there. They just fail and stay there. But if you stand up and move forward and you count that failure as a mistake that can be something to inspire you to move on, right? You can fight, yes, or you can flight. You can run away from that thing that is causing you failure. You change your ways. Alternatively, fight until that failure is turned into a success. Other kind of negative feelings could be jealousy. Yeah. Now, jealousy, remember, can be reversed on the other side. One time I was listening to Oprah Winfrey's program, and he said one of the things she stopped believing God is because God says in the Bible he's a jealous God. There's that jealous that you guard somebody jealously. Yes. You know, if you have a husband or a wife, you guard that love jealously. You protect it because you're not jealousy about them, but you guard it so well that you don't want anything to happen to them. You don't want anybody snatching that jealousy out of, I mean, that person because of jealousy. It's not that jealousy that you keep them for yourself. It's just protective jealousy. But jealous can be a negative jealous. It can be a negative jealous where you feel jealous of somebody who is succeeding. You feel jealous because other people are doing better than you. You feel jealous because somebody has a better car than you. This also can become envy, or you're envying somebody else's success and you start feeling bad because of them. Welcome, Tracy Mumbi, for joining in. Karibu sana. Yeah, you kind of you start feeling bad just because somebody else is doing better than you are. So you're jealous, you're envious. Those are not good emotions. I can say those are negative emotions. Now, recently I was listening to stories about the way people are passing away because of COVID-19, and grieving and bereavement is one of the saddest emotions that is also very difficult to overcome. And one of our teachers, yes, Dr. Tabitha Kekanga, was telling us about how to deal with people who are going through grieving. You don't tell them, don't worry at that particular time, because worries are there anyway. So you'd rather keep quiet rather than coming to tell them, don't worry. That's not the moment of telling them, take it easy. No, you cannot take bereavement or grieving easy. Let them grieve, let them cry. Yes, if anything, just give them a shoulder to cry on. If anything, don't say too much, because when people are going through grieving and bereavement, it's one of the saddest, heaviest kind of emotions for them to deal with. So find a way in which you can be able to support and comfort somebody without even quoting 100 Bible verses at that particular moment, because it may not quite help, because they may not even understand why it's happening, but rather find a way in which you can comfort them in the most comforting, positive way at that particular time. Don't tell them it's going to be okay. Don't tell them take it easy. Those are not some of the things that can help. Then on the other side, Tracy Mumbi is saying there are good and negative impacts of emotions, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we can call them emotions strictly negative or positive. Emotions are, I think, inclusive. Yeah, Tracy, we were kind of saying from the beginning that we cannot really necessarily classify or categorize emotions as negative or positive. It depends on the context. But there are those ones we can outrightly say these are negative emotions because they're not causing you to feel good about anything. They're causing you to feel sad, miserable, displeased, anything that is bringing you down, then that's a negative emotion. But things like fear, yeah, you may end up saying fear is a negative emotion. It's not a negative emotion because it's one of the emotions that helps us to protect ourselves. It's the one that helps us to run away from danger. And biologically, it's one of the instincts that has helped mankind to live away from the jungles, from the forest, away from the wild animals. That's one of the ways that people can live out of those. Yeah, so let me just have a quick look at who else is joining us at this particular time so that I don't miss out on people. There we go. Yes, fantastic. Yes, Eunice Njeri is saying negative emotions are anger, hurt, and guilt. Maria is saying tick, tick, tick. That means she's understanding the topic, which is very nice. Thank you so much. And Gladys Minor is still learning quite a lot. Now, I've spoken about some positive emotions, I've spoken about some negative emotions, some examples. Now, one of the other things I'm going to say is that sometimes people have mixed feelings. People have mixed feelings sometimes. And Lucy Muhaki here is saying, love surpasses all things. When you love other people, you obey God's commandment. That's true. When you love other people, when you obey God as well, you you are fulfilling that commandment. And then yes, that's one of the things I had missed on saying. So sometimes we have mixed feelings. So I'm moving on to mixed feelings now. So we've talked about the positive, the negative. Remember, it's complex or it's complicated to categorize them as positive, negative. But here now, it's more even complicated. So sometimes you can feel both pleased and not pleased. Sometimes you can be sad and happy at the same time. So I don't know about you, but I used to go to the weddings. And before I say about the weddings, Tracy Mumbi is saying this. I've had a good quote about emotions before. Emotions are indicators, not steering wheels. They should let us know something is wrong, but shouldn't direct our actions. Yes, when you have emotions, they should just be directing us to react or rather to respond to something, but they shouldn't necessarily drive our lives. They shouldn't. So when you're angry, for example, be very careful that that's not the time you're going to react to the other person, because you may end up breaking a good relationship or you may end up spoiling a good relationship. But let me talk about mixed feelings for a moment. Let me talk about mixed feelings now. You can feel both pleased and not pleased. You can feel both sad and not happy. And happy at the same time. So you can be sad and happy at the same time. And one of the best examples I'm using here, Dolly Nyabuga, you've joined us, karibu sana. One of the examples I'm going to use here is I've seen people cry at weddings. The bride, very beautiful, adorned, all the makeups and everything looking beautiful. And then the tears are just rolling, the eyes are red. Yes, this person is crying their hearts out. And I wonder, why are they crying? I used to wonder why they're crying. So, but I understand. Sometimes it's out of the joy of getting married. Yes, it's the joy of getting married. Maybe they are going to be with the loved one. But sometimes it's also they're scared of what they're getting themselves into. Alternatively, they are feeling bad they're leaving home. So if home was somewhere you felt really homely and it was welcoming, so going away, packing your things and being told now you're a married woman or you're a married man can be very scary as well. So it can cause tears. So those tears can be tears of joy, and they can also be tears of sadness. And all these can be a bag of mixture of emotions. They can all come out like that. So some people say you can have a mixture of joy and acceptance, which produces different types of emotions of love. You can have a mixture of disgust and anger, which can produce something called contempt or hatred. You can have fear and anger together, which can lead to jealousy. You can also have all sorts of mixed feelings, right? For example, I think I came across this one time. I hope I can tell it correctly. So a friend of yours could be going for a job, a job both of you applied for in the same institution. Yes, a position, maybe a manager. So both of you have applied for this job, your friends, but the friend gets the job, yeah, and you don't get the job. Do you feel happy for them? Or what do you feel about them? Or do you envy them? What do you feel about them? So you can end up having those mixed feelings. I am happy for them that they have been given this job position, but at the same time, it could have been my job. So I'm feeling like, oh no, I missed out on that. It should have been my job, something like that. So we can have those types of mixed feelings. But again, like Tracy Mumbi was saying, it's important that you know when to balance. So for that friend of yours, know how to talk to them so that you don't kind of bring them down. Don't lose your friendship with them. Yes, just because they got that position and you didn't get that position, respect them. If they become your manager, just respect them and work with them. Yeah, support them And for them as well, if they're really good friends, then they shouldn't be now become bossy and change their personality and change who they are just because they've been given that position. Now, I have one other type of category of emotions I'm going to go to. And this one is called apathy. This one is called apathy. So we are coming from mixed feelings, apathy. Apathy is when people don't have emotions, right? They are indifferent. They just are there. So you try to make them happy, they don't feel happy. You try to make them feel sad, they don't feel sad. They look at people, they are not compassionate about people, they don't feel anything about other people. So it's like they're just there. Some of them block those kind of emotions. They just decide, I'm not going to. Earlier on I had said some of the things we call emotions like love, hope, and faith. We choose to have faith. We choose to have hope. We choose to love. But these particular people who have apathy, they decide they don't want to love. They don't want to have hope. They don't want to have faith. They don't want to feel anything. It's like they're dead to any emotions. And it can happen. And that's why you may find very awkward, very rude crimes because of apathy. And sometimes people say these people could be having other psychological issues that could be driving them to have that kind of a state, whether it's from the brain or whether it's from their biology or whether it's a choice they've made within their spirit that they're not going to have feelings. That's something else the psychologist maybe can explain. I don't know. So some people suppress the emotions such as concern, excitement, motivation. They don't have them whatsoever. So sometimes we call them a don't care. They don't care whatever is happening around them. They don't care. So I have categorized emotions like positive, negative, mixed feelings, and apathy. Now, like I said, they're very complex. I was only touching on a few of them because we cannot spend the whole night here. Another day, if you really have questions, you can always ask me to explain further. Now, because I normally talk about the spices of life, I just want to mention a few things by bringing these in the previous topics that we have spoken about. Now, how can emotions influence the spirit of a person? How can the emotions affect the spirit of a person, whether the positive, negative, mixed, or no feelings? How can they affect a person spiritually? So I've said this, my own take. I've said this, spiritually, emotions can influence a person positively or negatively. So the emotions you have can influence you, can influence your spirit in the positive or the negative way. And the way I look at this is this way, right? I say, I look at this and I say this, the seat of emotion is in the soul, yeah, or in the heart, yeah. So that essence of a person, the person that you are inside there, the person that will remain when this body dies, yeah, that's where the seat of emotion is, okay? And it's in the non-physical person that we are. And most of the time people say our emotions work through the mind, but the mind can influence both the spirit and it can influence the body as well, because they say also the brain helps the mind. But deep down, that thing that normally hurts, it's just within you. That's when you feel the hurting. Yeah, that's where the seat of emotion is. And when I look back in the Garden of Eden, like we were saying last week, right? What was it like before we sinned? Yeah, when God looked at the creation, he said it was good. He was contented that it was good. So contentment is one of those emotions that you feel, and you feel you're satisfied, you're comfortable, you are feeling good because everything that is around you is good. And that was what was the beginning. But after the fall of mankind, remember I said after they ate from the tree of good and evil. And again, I will mention what Tracy Mumbi was saying, that you cannot classify as good or evil or anything. But if you remember, after the fall, mankind felt naked. They started feeling guilty. They started feeling shame. They were fearful of God, the same God they used to be friendly with. They became sorrowful. They became heartbrokenness. So it's like the emotions were birthed at Eden suddenly after falling into sin. And that's what mostly happens when we fall into sin. All these other kind of emotions come in. So there is the guilt, there is the shame, there is the vulnerability or nakedness, there is the fear, there is the sorrow, the heartbrokenness. If you don't feel any of those because of sin, then you are indifferent almost. It's like you are apathetic. It's like you're not feeling anything. But on the other side, I said to you earlier on that God also has emotions. At that particular time, at the fall of mankind, God was disappointed, maybe angry, but not angry enough to destroy Adam and Eve. He was heartbroken. And that's why he started the salvation plan from the very beginning. I hear the first lamb was killed there to cover their nakedness. Literally, he took the very first animal and killed it to cover their nakedness. Right? In the same way, he took Jesus to die on the cross to cover for our sins. Otherwise, he would have killed everybody. But he said, look, this is what you deserve. You deserve to be killed. You deserve to die. But I'm going to give you a salvation plan that you have to take by faith, only by faith. Why? Because God so loved the world and he has given us hope. You remember those three things I said? Faith, hope, and love, but love remains because God loved us from the very beginning. He said, I'm going to give you a salvation plan. So I'm going to give you a hope. All you need to do is to trust me, have faith in me, and trust in this salvation plan I have for you. So till today, it doesn't mean God has stopped being angry with us. He still gets angry with us. No wonder during the fall of man, during the times of Noah, yes, the floods came and the people were killed. There are times God had sent his people to kill other people. Remember, when you look at the tree of good and evil, even sometimes death is not a bad thing. Killing, if God has ordered it, is not a bad thing. These things happen, but not in the way we have taken them in extremism, because sometimes we take law in our own hands and we kind of decide this person deserves to die. But if it's God who is taking the soul of that person away, or he has commanded another person to go in the past, not after the New Testament. Yeah, I don't read of anywhere in the New Testament where God allows people to go and kill other people. Although the persecuted church, sometimes they are put in that situations, but God doesn't rescue them from that because it's part of the salvation plan. So when we think of it, yes, to date, God can still be angry or he becomes angry. God is still in control. God will still be judged. The emotions are there. We have the emotions. He has the emotions because he has created us in his own image. So the spirit of a person can be affected positively or negatively. The moment you realize that the consequences of sin is death, then you can turn around, trust God by faith, have hope, and then through love be able to conquer and you are able to reign. One other thing I'm going to look at is how the emotions also affect us physically. Most of the time you would hear people say, if you're going through depression, if you're stressed, if you're going through a hard time, those emotions play out in your physical life. You have a stomach ache because you're too scared. I know I did one time when I found somebody breaking my house. So I was just caught up and I felt really, really kind of pain in my stomach, and I developed maybe ulcers from that particular time. Sometimes when you're too stressed, you feel headaches, migraines constantly. Yes, but in the physical, the scientists say that the seat of emotions is in the brain, right? And they say it's somewhere called in the limbic system. I can give you that to go and research later on, in a place called the amygdala. So if you want to go and research the seat of emotion in the physical sense, they say there's a place in the brain, yeah, in the limbic system, and that's now the one that makes us feel pain. When you're heartbroken, you feel like your heart is really broken and it's paining. When you're grieving, you feel the pain. Apart from just feeling the feelings, there is something that happens within your body. You feel like you are losing your appetite, you're losing sleep. Yeah, depression, you feel hollow, you feel empty, you feel actual pain symptoms, the body aches. So these things can happen in the physical, but that's another research we will do another day. So I've looked at the spiritual and then I've looked at the physical. And then on the intellectual part, which I hadn't written so much notes about it, how does our emotions affect our intellect? Our emotions can affect our intellect in the positive and in the negative way. Remember, we were talking about behaviorism, cognitivism, and constructionism. Depending on how our emotions are, then we understand the world around us differently. We reason differently. So it can be affected positively or negatively. If we are hopeless and our brain is telling us we no longer have hope, then yeah, we tend to just drift in that thought pattern. Remember when I started the conversation earlier, I said our emotions do affect our thought patterns, they also affect our behavior. But in the process of thinking, we can end up just thinking downhill and become negative, pessimistic. Alternatively, we can think positively and become more productive and successful. And in the commercial that we discussed last week, yes, the currency I can give you, I can add on top of the knowledge, on the time, and on the money itself. The best currency you can use out of the three that remain is love. So the moment we will learn to transact with love as the currency of the heavenly kingdom, then we will have won the day. Love can be followed by joy. It can be followed by peace. It can be followed by everything we need, not from the self help group books, but from the Bible. In Galatians 5, I think 5:22 to 23, it says about the fruit of the Spirit. Out of that fruit of the Spirit, love is one of them. Yes. And if you go round, 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 you find we come back to love. Those three remain, but the greatest of them all is love. The greatest commandment is love. Yes. So we are sent out to love other people, to bring them into the kingdom of God. And I'm loving you tonight for loving me. I'm going to come towards the end now. I've really, 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 really enjoyed this topic because it's one of the things that I would really love people to come into the kingdom of God, experience the faith, experience the hope, experience the love of God, experience the goodness of God that began from the Garden of Eden, the contentment that was there at the beginning. The previous program that was Mogatawa Moyo, they were also talking about that hope that we have in a new heaven, in a new place where all these things will be turned around. Our emotions play a big role in the way we respond, in the way we react towards other things. So I love you, and Tracy also is saying she loves me, and I trust that. Yes, when you sit down and think about your own self-concept, who you are, whose you are, the type of emotions that come out of your life, the external experiences that you have and the way they affect you, next time you will know whether to react or respond. You will know whether to react or respond. When you react, you can react negatively, but when you take time to respond, to listen to yourself, then you can act appropriately. Yes, you can respond appropriately. So where did we start? We started at looking at the discovery of the emotional part of the spices of life. Then we moved on understanding emotions, however complex they are. We know we all have emotions. We have the good, we have the bad, but we need to study ourselves a little bit more and know how those emotions are affecting our spirit, how they're affecting our physical bodies, how they're affecting our intellect, how they're affecting our transactions in everyday life. We know that emotions serve a purpose. So we have discovered they do serve a purpose of survival. But Pastor Kahonoki also told us about serving the purpose of life in itself. The very moment we know whose we are and believe in God, have faith in God, then we no longer survive. We have a life. We have a life in God. So we have defined the emotions, both the negative and the positive. We have tried to kind of categorize them, but it's a complex process. But all in all, we do understand the ones that make us feel good and comfortable and contented. And we know the ones that can lead us a downhill path. And then we know some people don't have any feelings. At the end of the day, emotions were there from the beginning in the Garden of Eden, from the fall of man, and then the rescue process of the salvation plan by God. The emotions can help us to understand how we can come around and be won back into the kingdom of God through love. God created emotions. He has emotions. And you too, because you've been created in God's image, you do have emotions. Just know how to deal with them. Just know how to control those emotions. So what are we doing next time? Next time, we are on the last S of spices, and we are looking at the social aspect of spices of life. We will be connecting all the other aspects, especially these emotions, to the process of socializing. Yeah, we may look at bonding, we may look at abandonment, we may look at childhood traumas and how they play out in our adult life. We may look at emotional baggages that we carry and those unsatisfactions that we have through the stages of life because of the emotions that we have learned how to nurture. We may look at the negative emotions in both areas of the past and the current. And we may also try to look into the positive emotions and how we can maximize that. Hopefully, we can be able to look at emotional intelligence as we kind of bring in the spices of life at the discovery stage. And then in future, we will start now living as per the spices of life, kuongeza hiyo kitunguu na kachumbari na kapilipili kidogo, the things that we need to bring into our lives so that our lives can be more spicier and we can be able to bring those goodness. I was being reminded that the gifts that Jesus was given at his birth, the gifts that Jesus was given were spices. And if you look at those spices, one of them represented death, the other one represented wealth and riches, and there was another one that just brought the good scent, right? Yes, the myrrh, the frankincense, and the gold, all of those had a meaning. And in this life, in the symbolism that I use, the spices of life, you will realize also they do add spices. They do make our life to be the way they are. And I think emotions is one of those parts that can be a very nice kachumbari for the Kenyans who understand what kachumbari is. Na pilipili kidogo, yes, na kakitungu kidogo, yes, and the salad dressing. Kachumbari is a salad, is a type of salad that you can make to be accompaniment for other foods. Otherwise, before I go, I'm going to recognize those people who have joined me. On the other side is John Karori. Karori is saying, love is the answer. And John is saying also, very educative show. We appreciate you, Esther. My take home today is to work on the inner self in order to be able to handle what is outside. Absolutely. Yes. Deal with this person that is inside. He's the one or she's the one that is affected by emotions a lot. We need to be able to understand ourselves from the inside out. Gladys Minor says the topic's richly delivered. Thank you, Esther. I value you. Virginia Murimi is saying this. Many hearts are getting this teaching in order to know how to stand despite what they may be going through. God bless you. And say, Esther, you are helping many souls, especially at the difficult seasons that we are living on. Yes, it's important that we be set free. Yes, and when we live freely, then we can be free to live freely here on earth and also in a life that is to come in future. So I don't necessarily quote so many verses, but I bring this in the context because I understand most of the teachings that we do, nothing is new. It has just been either brought from the very book, because even these things, if you check them out in the Bible, you will find them. It's my textbook. It's the one that I normally use. Yes, I read it in a wider perspective with an open mind. And I would like to present these topics in the best way we can in the everyday situation. So Tracy Mumbi is saying, looking forward, next week sounds great. Looking forward to it. And thanks again. Okay. So asanteni sana, everybody who's been listening. So thank you so much. If I've missed to call out your name, because again, the comments normally go hiding, you can also tell your friends and share the link. You can share either the link through Facebook or you can share the link via YouTube so that they can be able to kind of also learn these things. I believe and I feel deep down in my heart that this is a very valuable lesson for each one of us. Yes, it's a long lesson, but it's there for life. So may God help us. May God continue to work with us as we come to the end of the session. Karibuni sana. We will play one song. And if you really still want to call me and ask me a question or anything, our number is +1 205 905 6440. Otherwise, nawapenda, I love you all, and I do this because I care. I don't want anybody to miss heaven. I don't want anybody to miss a relationship with the one who made us. I want us all to meet Jesus Christ one day so that we can all have a blissful, contented, happy life, joyous life, singing and dancing in that heavenly place, because God is a wonderful God, amazing, awesome. So, yes, my producer, if you have a song for us, let's dance to the song as we celebrate tonight learning about rediscovering the emotions. It's a wonderful day.
Ngarisha na Optiven wigurire value added plot thiini wa Success Gardens Gatanga Road Thika. Muci uyu uri off Thika Super Highway na no ndagika kenda tu kuma Brupos. Success Gardens irigairwo na ruthiko rwa ihiga ruothe project-ini ino, na to uguo tu, muci uyu ni ugwikerwo solar street lights, internal roads, mai, thitima, security ya gikiro kia iguru, miti na green areas cia kurelax. Wekira deposit ya shiringi 995 Optiven ni turakuhe free washing machine oro uguo tuhu.
Hey, what a wonderful time we had tonight. And I'm just gonna Wish you a good day for those that it's a day. For those who are going for good night, the Kenyans and the Europeans, have a good night. And next week, like I said, we'll be talking about the social part of the spices of life: spiritual, physical, intellectual, commercial, emotional, and we are coming to the spices on the rediscovery. Yeah, we've just been rediscovering, and hopefully as we continue, we will be able to see how we become and maximize. So we may go full circle. God bless you. Until next time, muradhimo, mbarikiwe sana. Mungu anawapenda. I love you and God loves you as well. Have a good night and we will see you next week. Same time right here on KDM.
Baleno gugati yakwa, baleno newe okoroa, janona okero anyige, nokahota na todo winya. Tungatire gitagera ngoro eno yakwa nani ndore babango tungatire baleno gugati yakwa baleno newe okoroa janona okero anyige nokahota na todo winya danona okero anyige nokahota na todo winya roho wako leo chitererie nyajarageria kaigya kajera mikuru onayarika weno wetu mudeithuri mikuru onayarika weno wetu mudeithuri baleno gugati yakwa baleno newe okoroa janona okero anyige nokahota na todo winya janona okero anyige nokahota na todo winya. Wengai no we wagaroranirie hamani ageitwo na njibere ambite Wengai no we wagaroranirie hamani ageitwo na njibere ambite baleno gugati yakwa baleno newe okoroa janona okero anyige nokahota na todo winya danona okero anyige nokahota na todo winya Sauro afanga koraga Daudi niundu wa maguta wamwitereirie we wahutherire Jonathani okihonokia muoyo wake we wahutherire Jonathani okihonokia muoyo wake baleno gugati yakwa baleno newe okoroa janona okero Ukeroa nyinge Nokahotana todo hinya
Wanaroa nyinge gai Ukahotanera Niwe tihokete
Riri ni hoya baba ngukuhoya Witikire kuhitha moyo wakwa Nyumba yakwa umigitagire Na ndagwita baba unjiguage Nyumba yakwa umigitagire Na ndagwita baba unjiguage Bareno kugati yakwa Bareno newe ukorowa Janona ukeroa nyinge Nokahotana todo hinya Janona ukeroa nyinge Nokahotana todo hinya Bareno kugati yakwa Bareno newe ukorowa Janona ukeroa nyinge Nokahotana todo hinya Janona ukeroa nyinge Nokahotana todo hinya
Ruriboguina ruri wira wakwa Nyanirira juge ngai wakwa ni ahotaga Maria maremaga mundu Mena mahotaga Ici ndingikira nacio ninde kunyumbure Toro ni kuraya Ngai andutite Ndakuririkana ngai gwataingiita maithori Nikuimagini ndina na ruo runene Ndagutire mundu no mwonge njehogoreire Njiri wa kwendeka Ithanda igwiriro Ithabine ria andu amata ndingioneiro andu Toro ni kuraya Ngai andutite Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingiita maithori Aciari nĩ manderire na wendo mũnene Urutani wao mwega ũtakariganĩra Na tondũ ngomatũire ande geire mitego Nĩangwatirie ngĩgwa gĩterenge-inĩ gĩake Kuma hau andũ aitũ tathikĩrĩriai Ndeyona gĩkeno gĩakwa igĩtuĩka kĩeha Mĩrigo yarĩ mĩritũ na mathĩna maingĩ Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingiita maithori Njĩrĩ wa kwendeka Ithanda igwĩrĩirwo Ithabine ria andu amata ndingioneiro andu Toro ni kuraya Ngai andutite Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingiita maithori Mundu wa muone muthaka kana murungaru Tigwa ciari urarutĩirwo thogora munene Mawĩra maria maritu nimo ndarutaga Mbeca ndanyita ikomboka ta rũkũngũ rwa thĩ Ngĩhinyĩrĩrĩka ngoro yakwa ĩkĩinama Nginya ngĩoya kuona ta ndombirwo na mahĩtia Toro nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingiita maithori Njĩrĩ wa kwendeka Ithanda igwĩrĩirwo Ithabine ria andu amata ndingioneiro andu Toro nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingiita maithori Maandĩko moigaga harĩa wakinyĩra mũico Hau nĩho ngai witũ ambagĩrĩria Ndakinyĩte mũico ngorwo nĩ hinya No ngai akĩnjiguĩra tha akĩnjikia mbere igwata ingĩ